Welcome back to the ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today's report uncovers the dark undercurrents beneath the July 18 episode. Secrets are boiling over, betrayals are being exposed, and the shadows cast by hidden allegiances are longer than ever. At first glance, it may have seemed like a transitional day in Port Charles. But what lurked beneath the surface was a collision course of secrets and shifting loyalties that could soon unravel everything. The tension reached across continents and generations, from Anna's watchful command center to a cryptic mission stretching from Paris to Croatia. And somewhere in the middle of it all, Jason Morgan found himself staring at a ghost from the past, just as Josslyn Jax was about to change the game forever. Anna Devane didn't like to be blindsided, especially not in her own office. But as she sat with Carly Spencer, trying to untangle the mess surrounding Josslyn's recent behaviors, she could sense something deeper. Carly tried to brush it off, suggesting her daughter's flirtation with Vaughn was just summer heat and unresolved grief after Dex. But Anna wasn't buying it. Her instincts told her there was far more going on, and when she revealed that Emma Scorpio Drake was suddenly entangled in the drama, trying to win Vaughn away from Josslyn, even Carly's confident facade cracked. What really rattled Carly was Anna's mention of Josslyn's growing obsession with Cyrus Renaud and her claim that he was responsible for Dex's death. Carly hadn't heard her daughter say that outright, but now that Anna had said it, memories clicked. Josslyn's erratic return from Easter Island hadn't been just about self-discovery. It had been about something darker. Something tactical. That sudden shift in mood, that quiet resolve in Josslyn's eyes, Carly had seen it before. In Jason. In Sonny. It was the look of someone preparing for a war they didn't intend to lose. Across town, Jason Morgan was trying to put together a different puzzle. One that began with a soft kiss from Sasha Gilmore Corbin and ended with him standing frozen in the Paris airport, staring at a woman who looked exactly like Britt Westbourne. He hadn't expected to feel anything at that moment, but he did. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Britt was gone, wasn't she? He'd buried that pain. But there she was, walking past him, as if time had simply bent in on itself. Jason's next flight was to Croatia. But now his focus was split, torn between a past he couldn't let go and a future pulling him deeper into the WSB's shadow games. And somewhere between those 2 points was the heart of the mystery unraveling in real time, Josslyn. At airport security in Paris, Dante Falconeri watched from a high-tech monitor as Vaughn and Josslyn played out their parts. They flirted, touched, and laughed, all for show. Vaughn's charm was turned up to 11 as he chatted up Greta, the courier, while Josslyn discreetly slipped a tracking device into her bag. Their eyes met with silent coordination as Greta boarded her flight to Paris. The moment Greta crossed through the gate, Josslyn was already pulling up the GPS route. Vaughn watched over her shoulder, both of them waiting to see where Greta would lead them next, not realizing that Dante had just reported everything back to Anna. Dante, convinced Vaughn was WSB, nearly told Anna about Josslyn's involvement. But Anna cut him off. She already knew. Of course she did. The real question was, how long had she known? And why hadn't she said anything? Because Josslyn's infiltration wasn't a reckless act of a grieving girl, it was part of a coordinated, unsanctioned operation. And Anna wasn't just covering it up. She was letting it happen. Meanwhile, chaos simmered in Port Charles. At General Hospital, Portia Robinson stood at a crossroads. She had just confessed to Curtis Ashford that Drew Kane had pressured her to falsify Michael Corinthos' drug test. She was done being a pawn, she declared. She was ready to take back her power, even if it cost her her career, her reputation, even her freedom. Curtis, however, tried to pull her back from the edge. They needed to think. To strategize. To be smart. But Portia had already decided the truth was the only way forward. Whether that truth would save her or destroy her was yet to be seen. Back at Crimson, a different kind of storm brewed. Willow Tate entered just in time to hear Liesl Albrecht lashing out at Nina Reeves over her daughter's disintegrating custody battle. Liesl was furious. Why was Willow being denied access to her child? Why wasn't anyone standing up for her? Willow, calm but cold, blamed everything on Michael's cruelty and the bias of the court system. Her detachment was unsettling, but neither Nina nor Liesl could quite name what was off. Then, Nina dropped a quiet bomb. Sasha had left town, taking baby Daisy with her, after a string of strange events that convinced her it was no longer safe. Willow barely masked her satisfaction. A flicker of a smile, a moment of relaxation, and Liesl saw it. The older woman's instincts sharpened in an instant. She turned to Nina and whispered her suspicion: something was deeply wrong with Willow. Nina, unnerved, agreed. She blamed Drew's toxic influence. Liesl went further. They needed to unearth Drew's secrets, to find the skeletons he was hiding, because whatever hold he had over Willow, it had twisted her into someone they could no longer recognize. Outside, Willow left Michael a voicemail. Her voice was soft, almost mournful. She said she was sorry to hear about Sasha and Daisy leaving. And then, her words turned sharper, veiled in kindness, but weighted with intent. Now that Michael understood what it felt like to be separated from his child, maybe he'd be more open to compromise. It wasn't a plea. It was a warning. Back in the Scorpio home, a strange peace had settled. Sasha changed Daisy's diaper, humming softly, while Robert Scorpio poured himself a drink. He thanked Jason for stepping up, for making sure Sasha and the baby were safe. But as Sasha kissed Jason's cheek, and then Daisy's, there was a hint of finality in the gesture. A moment heavy with things left unsaid. And then came Britt. Or someone who looked like her. She walked through the Paris terminal without a second glance, disappearing into the crowd. Jason stood motionless, haunted. Britt had left him behind in 1,000 ways, but this was something else. Was it possible she had never died? Was it possible everything since her disappearance had been part of a greater plan? The tendrils of mystery wrapped tighter. Josslyn was now part of the WSB's underground war. Vaughn was no longer just a charming distraction, he was a trained operative, and perhaps something more. Emma's involvement raised deeper questions about Scorpio loyalty. And Dante's surveillance brought everyone back under Anna's ever-watchful eye. But the real question was Willow. Once the golden heart of Port Charles, now slowly darkening into someone unrecognizable. What game was she playing? Why was she pleased that Sasha left? And what did she mean when she said compromise was still possible? Had Drew changed her, or had he simply revealed what she'd always been capable of? General Hospital isn't about black and white truths anymore. It's about the gray zones in between. It's about people who cross lines for love, for justice, or for vengeance. It's about secrets born from grief, betrayal spun into opportunity, and redemption dangled just out of reach. As the airport gates close in Croatia, as Anna watches her pieces move across the global chessboard, as Willow whispers threats in the language of concern, and as Jason wonders whether the past has truly stayed buried, one thing becomes clear: the war has only just begun. And not everyone will survive what's coming next. Stay tuned. Port Charles is no longer a safe harbor ***.